and welcome to Points of Interest. I'm one of your hosts, Jake, along with my co-host, James, over here.
Hey, guys.
If you're new to the show, this is Inverted Reality's gaming news podcast. Every week, we collect video game news and stories from around the internet, bring them to you in one nice, easy-to-consume package delivered right to your internet door. To consume at your leisure.
Love it.
You can...
I love leisurely consumption. That's one of my favorite things of the day.
I agree. There's nothing beats convenience when it comes to consumption.
Tell me about it.
You can get the show on your podcast service of choice or on YouTube and Facebook for videos. Usually how it works is we break the show up by one or two topics per day, Tuesday through Thursday, and then Friday the whole show comes out as one big video, an MP3 for you to love and cherish for the rest of your life.
In any way you want to wear. To wear it. Yep. Wear it the way you want.
Is that a new podcast you got on your feed?
Wear it the way you want.
Yeah. I picked it up this Friday. I thought it went nice with my jeans. Nice winter wash.
But there's just a bunch of loot boxes on it. So
I scrubbed and it wouldn't go away.
Nope.
I just swear, man, they've had the same thing in stock for weeks.
I just wanted a new skin, man. That's all I wanted.
That's all I wanted. Finally gave up and shelled over 99 cents.
All
I
right.
saw a thing, I think it was on Reddit. It's like, I used to walk around with like pockets full of quarters to go spend at the arcade, but now I won't pay 99 cents for an app.
I know. It's pretty silly, like the amount we'll spend. Like you'll go down and no big deal to toss down $10 at McDonald's, which is like a buffet of food. But 99 cents, you're like,
it's pretty steep for an app, guys.
It's steep. I don't know if I want to support anyone that worked on something.
Yeah, see. That's why you get that Google survey money right there.
You got it.
I haven't paid for an app since I've had this phone.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Great.
It is great.
Just go places and I'll ask you about it. Speaking of asking you about it, James, what you been playing lately?
Well, nothing's changed.
Hey,
it's Assassin's Creed
the pictures
Origins.
changed.
Pictures changed. Yeah. I can't. I'm focused. I'm in the game. It's what I want to finish, so it's what I'm working on. That's. I feel like a broken record, but it's a good game. It's a surprisingly good time. Climbing freaking pyramids. I didn't know I would get to do that, but I was excited when I did.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Exploring the crypts inside, which is different than just like the other side quest you had. It's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
Just
I'm
much
excited.
questions.
I've also been watching Riverdale lately. If you haven't watched
Really?
Riverdale, yeah. So it's like
I've
Archie
heard of this
comics,
show. Yeah.
right? So, but it's super dark. I would assume because I never read the comics. You just kind of know, oh, like Betty and Veronica and
Yeah.
Jughead and Archie. Like those are the names you know. Well, it's like super dark. Like it's all revolves around like a death in a small town, and so it's awesome. It's like super dark, like murder mystery, huge, like big old reveals every
If you had to
single
describe
episode.
it with 2 words, what would you use?
All right, fine. Whatever. So it's good. We're in the second season now, and it's awesome. It's
I don't know. How many seasons are there?
They're currently in the second season.
Okay.
On the CW. As it turns out,
Okay,
I
it's
watch
CW
almost
show?
every single show that the CW has to offer because I have a problem with young adult fiction.
Do you watch Smallville?
I do not. That's the only one that I've never really watched.
There you go.
So it's on my list of.
You haven't watched all of them yet.
That's true. Well, we're pretty close. Like out of like the 9 shows that they have during the week, I think I watch 8 of them. So it's very impressive. So they have a new one called Black Lightning. I know we're getting off topic here.
No, it's fine.
But it's a new
Conversational
superhero,
podcast.
Black Lightning. He's in the DC universe. He technically could be in the Arrow shows, but he's not. But it's a black person as a superhero in like a black
if it wasn't.
community. Yeah, who would be? But it's interesting because it's talking about like racism and it's talking about a lot of social things that are happening now. So it's really cool and also really sad because it's, my wife watches it with me and she's like, that's exactly how it is. Like that's for real. That's all legit. Not the superhero stuff, but the way they treat, like the way the gangs run the city and the way the police are, overly brutalizing and stuff like that.
To
It's
clarify,
it's interesting.
his wife teaches in a diverse part of town. A very diverse. I was
Diverse is good.
I had other
like
ways to
diverse.
say it. I was like, I don't know if that's racist or
I
not.
mean, you could also say inner city school.
Inner city school, yeah, that works too.
So she sees
I
a
still
lot
think of Benson as like inner city.
She has a lot. Well, we don't, but it is.
Yes, we
But-
don't because of where we're from.
Right. Yeah, she's in a very unique situation. She has a lot of problems there that you don't have out west, out in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So it's just different. So it's cool. We've been watching a lot of that, and when I'm not watching that, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins. What about you? What do you got?
We'll change the picture because I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins.
Good news.
Whoa.
I grabbed 2 pictures.
Oh, hey, look at you go.
So, yeah, I was thinking ahead this time.
Oh,
As you can see,
action.
Desert and
Bayek.
Bayak. I was forgetting his name because it's been a couple
Yeah.
days.
It has been. Yeah,
You're almost done with it, right? You got to be getting close.
I'm getting pretty close. I'm level 32.
Okay.
I've got two targets on my list. One more target on my list, something like that.
Okay.
I've killed 9 main people, I
Right.
think. It turns out there's 2 more, so apparently there's at least 11 main people.
Right.
Um,
Kind of figure there's enough real estate on the
a
screen.
lot of
for
room
there
on
to be
that. You're like,
more,
wow,
yeah.
that's a lot of room for just 5 people. I
Yeah.
don't know what it turns out.
Especially when you don't even kill most of them.
Yeah, so I assume that there's like one mower that goes in the middle or one that goes on top.
Mm-hmm.
There's a weird empty space in the middle of the 2 that are up now. So I'm like, he either goes up top or right in the middle. So there's 1 or 2 more after these 2. There's got to be.
Yeah.
At least I think there is.
Yeah.
But
Still cool.
yeah, I did one PlayStation the other day. I'd never really looked at it when I was in my ability tree that the synchronization points increase the bird's ability to detect
Yeah.
enemies. And I was like,
Makes a lot
I
of
just hadn't been getting them. Because to me, I was like, oh, they're fast travel points. I keep hitting fast travel points next to them anyways.
Right.
I don't need these. And so then I was just like bouncing back through all the cities I'd been through and just like grabbing them. Like,
Yeah,
all right.
I've been going out of my way to get those, so.
Yeah, so I used to in the old Assassin's Creed, that was the only way to unlock the map.
Right. And
But in
now
this one,
it's
it's like you just show up and you're like, oh, location discovered. And you pretty much
see
everything you
question
need to see
marks
is
and
there.
your vendors. And
So
stuff. I like
I
it.
never had the need to, but now I'm like, oh, I should go back and do these.
Definitely. So.
It ended up putting me next to my next mission after I did about 10 of them. And I was like, oh, hey, this is where
Works out
I'll
well.
just go on to this next thing.
Exactly. I like it.
And we together
Yeah, we did.
yesterday
Mm,
played the Sea of Thieves closed beta.
that's true. We could talk about this one.
We can.
So there's
We
no
were-
NDA or anything like that.
Yep. We were in the
Technical
alpha program,
alpha. Yep,
technical alpha
which was cool.
a little while ago.
That's
But
what we got to do. Closed beta. It was, this is going to actually segue into our first topic of the day. But it's interesting. Like I think it delivers on what they said. I don't think that any part of what they said, like leading up to it, is misleading me into
Yeah.
what it is, because they say you can go be a pirate with your friends, you can go loot treasure, you go kill bad guys, you do quests, and you make money to get things in return.
you sail
And you sail
a lot.
a lot. So it's in that aspect, it's really fun. Like it's
Yeah.
fun for the 2 of us to play. I can imagine solo, it would just be so boring, unbelievably boring. Like I just,
you need something else to
there would be nothing to
I
do,
don't know.
because you'd set your ship and then you just kind of.
have to play your
steer as you
hurdy-gurdy by
go.
yourself.
It's true. They give you little instruments, give you a hurdy-gurdy, and
It's not an accordion. It's got a name.
it's got a name, but
Small octagonal.
yeah, it looks like
Dude.
an accordion.
Yeah,
So,
it's an accordion miniature.
but so you can play them, and then the songs that you play line up if you play them at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's
Pretty
pretty
cool.
cool.
But
What do you think of it so far? I mean,
I think it's fun.
We probably did 4 or 5 in the alpha, and then like 3 or 4 in the beta yesterday.
Yeah.
Or Tuesday, Monday, Sunday.
Sunday.
It was
It's definitely Sunday. Today's Monday.
Yeah, today is Monday.
Timestamp. But I mean, it was fun. Like I enjoyed it. But I mean, so you found this article that actually on IGN that actually lines up.
Yep.
With a lot of what we were talking about yesterday while we were playing it.
Right. I'm not big on
And-
IGN. I try to stay away from them because I just don't really trust them as a news source a lot of times. Like the reviews always seem to be kind of, I don't know, biased. Like I don't really love them for review scores, but this guy seemed to hit it on the head.
Yep.
for me personally.
Jared Duggan, I think his
That
name
sounds
is, I believe. But so the beta started with a lot of issues for, I think this was mainly a PC problem.
Yeah, it was mainly PCs that were having it. It's funny. It is James Duggan, by the way.
James Duggan.
James
I
Duggan.
think I said Jared Duggan.
Yeah, you
James Duggan. Way to go, dude.
Yeah.
Proud of you. But people, so basically you could either be in the Sea of Thieves Insider program like we are,
Mhm.
or you pre-order the game was how you get access to this beta.
Mhm.
So people that pre-ordered the game got a code, and they would go to put in the code, and they'd get an error message that says, "You're too early. We're excited that you wanted to play, but you're a little too early. Come back later when the game's available." Originally, the beta was going to run through Sunday,
It's through Monday.
through Monday, but it extended until Wednesday. So a couple days ago, if you're listening to this on Friday, tomorrow, if you're listening to this today,
It's Wednesday,
So,
31st. That's
yeah.
when it happened.
there you go.
You know, you can figure out where that is.
You'll
You can-
figure it out.
You can extrapolate the data.
So they extended the beta for the people that couldn't get in. So you could imagine if you paid for this game, wanting to be in the beta, and you couldn't, you would be upset,
would
and
be
understandably so.
Yeah, I
That's
think
fair.
so. It's because it wasn't just for like an hour or two. I mean, the beta launched. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
and they had the issues for almost 2 days, and they're still occasionally having them for the I think it's finally resolved, but it did take a good 2 or 3 days for the patches to start
Yeah.
rolling out. And first it went out in the EU, and then it went closer to us, and so it's like that was only PC. It seemed to affect. Didn't seem to affect us. On
Yeah,
our
we got in
Xboxes.
just fine.
Well,
Not to say we didn't have issues.
The first night we tried was Friday, and we couldn't. Like we could barely get into a voyage.
Yeah,
we'd get the voyage and we'd start it, and then it would
some
just
kind of problem where we couldn't actually
disappear,
start the voyage.
and then you'd go get it and then grab the chest and take it to the gold person. And we didn't get any gold for it, and we're like, you know what? This seems like a good time to go play Halo.
I'm curious is kind of how you advance in the game, and therefore when you
we
couldn't turn it in and couldn't get money, you couldn't buy the next voyage.
Yeah, because we turned it into him, but we didn't get any money back, and then the next time we logged in, which was Sunday night, we had that money sitting there, so it was fine, and they fixed it. But that was just server side issues.
Sunday it worked pretty flawlessly.
So there are all sorts of problems
as far as beta goes
to start with the beta.
Yep, it does have its good points. He mentions in the article, says Sea of Thieves has a lot going for it: a unique, immersive setting, a surprisingly accessible learning curve, and possibly the best-looking water of all time. Which I agree, it's pretty good-looking water.
It's
really good water physics.
It's really interesting because the whole game is very like cartoon. I don't want to say cell shader, but just that blocky, like cartoonish look for it.
Polygonal.
But I was gonna say you can count the polygons. But the water itself looks like real water. It's really odd that they made that choice. It looks cool.
The reflections are really good. The shadows are really good. All that stuff. It works really good. But not even the dazzling glimmer of that perfect ocean can outshine the radiance of the game's most outstanding quality. Its impeccable multiplayer design, which coerces cooperation and inspires emergent gameplay. And it really does. Like, I did play a little bit by myself, which is because you played a little bit by yourself. Yeah. And you texted me and you're like, man, I don't know if this is a game you can play by yourself. This is not. I
was ready to vomit over the side of my ship.
Yeah.
I just was so bored.
Yeah. We, because it took a while to figure out when you hopped in, and this was,
the alpha.
Yeah, the alpha. You hop in and there's no instructions. There's no HUD. There's no waypoint, which is actually kind of great.
Yeah.
But you find your ship and you're like, cool. And in every other sailing game, you hop behind the wheel and you hit action buttons to do stuff with the sails. And this one, you're like, nope. You have to go over to the thing and like lower the sail, and then the thing, the block and tackle right behind it, and turn the sail to match the wind, and then you go over to the wheel.
You got to raise the anchor. Don't forget the anchor.
You've got to raise the anchor, or you won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So you have to do all the things. So when you're by yourself, it's kind of a lot to manage to run around between these three things and make sure you stop in time. Because if you hit the side of an island or a rock or another boat, you'll spring a leak, and you have to have a bucket and dump out the water and fix the leak. And it's really fun, but it's just way easier with another person because. The way we do it is you manage the sail, and then I drive the ship. So you keep us kind of on course, run around to the map down below, and then I drive us to where we're going, and then.
And it's interesting because they have different sized ships for different crews. So you got 1, 2, and 4, and you can't go into a 4 crew. Like if you go in by yourself, it will match you with 3 people. So it's easy to find people. Now, if those people are going to be good to you or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's better to go in with friends. But there's still an option if you're solo. Want to go with others? The 4-person ship is like 3 levels, has like 3 times as many.
Have 3 sets of sails, and you have to do that same thing for all 3 of them.
There's a lot going on. The 1-person boat obviously has a lot less going on. 2-person boat's kind of in the middle.
Before it's definitely geared for 4 people, and that's the way it, is meant to be played.
Right.
So they want you to be with 3 other people on this big ship. The big ship also has 3 levels instead of 2.
Yeah.
So the ship that we're on all the time has
just the 2.
Yeah, just 2. It's got like kind of a little mid deck where the map is, and but the lower deck where like the prison and the beer and the
right, the beer.
You do have grog, and you can fill a mug, and you get really drunk off of 1 cup.
Yeah, you do. It's much different than the alpha. The alpha took like
alpha.
3 or 4.
We definitely could. We could get. I mean, you're like stumbling around a ton, but we just kind of took it as a challenge to be at one of the bars on one of the home islands, try to like grab as many drinks as we could, and we got like 10.
It was like 10.
Because you kind of like get up to the bar and you just kind of like mash X until you get a full drink, and then you just kind of start throwing it back.
It's
really funny.
Yeah. So I mean, you'll vomit. I noticed in the beta you don't vomit on your screen anymore. I could hear us vomiting, but so we would stumble.
I saw it.
Okay, you did see it.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it like on my camera.
Because we were fighting those guys. We were like wrapping up, and this 4-person ship rolled in, and they started shooting at us, and we're both still like in this like we're like drunken stumbles.
It was
and
a nice little like
rolling around like trying to pull out a gun,
style.
And we can't quite get there. And
so
that's when I saw the vomit.
Yeah, they added a sniper rifle, and so it was interesting. So we got in a fight with these guys. They sunk our ship, but it was okay because we'd
already turned everything.
We'd already turned everything in, so we didn't.
We
have
lost 80
anything
cannonballs.
That's
the other thing. Like to fix the ship, so as you hit and you spring a leak, you take a wooden plank. You got to like nail the wooden plank to the wall over the leak, and then you got to bucket out all the water.
Yep.
But while you're on the island, you have to collect the planks that you use, and if you're gonna use the cannons, you have to pick up a cannonball, load the cannon, and then you can use the cannon. So you have to collect cannonballs and bananas to replenish your health. So you collect all these things while you're on islands, and you can store them in barrels. Yeah, this is the big ship, so it has 4 cannons rolled out across.
Yep, on each side.
The little ship, the ship we're on has 1 per side, and then I think the little ship also has 1 per side.
I think it's just 1 per side, yeah.
So, but you can get in fights with other players. Like when you see them, you're pretty much guaranteed to get in a fight. We were battling with these 2 guys for a solid minute before we sank their ship. And
it
just
was a good
ran
time.
away.
Yeah, we circled each other for like 10 minutes, and you would take turns like fixing and then turning the boat, and I would be like shooting my sniper, and then we'd go down and get ammo, and I'd go to the cannonball. All that stuff's really great. The combat was fun in that sense. The close quarters combat's a little clunky with the sword. You kind of sort of lock
to,
on,
like,
but
aim
you don't.
when you're using the
Aiming
gun.
is not really good because there's no real reticle at all.
No.
I think that's okay. I think that's something you get used to. That's not a deal breaker for me. So it's interesting. It does the pirate stuff well. Like you see another ship and you instantly freeze. And you're like, okay, are they gonna attack us and take our stuff? Are they just gonna go by? Like, should we bother? Like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So like for one instance, somebody sank our boat, and it took one of us. It took us both with it, but we respawned in time to get back to that spot.
Yeah.
And our chest stayed there, and they took off because they didn't see us anymore. And so we took the chests and I hid them on the island, and then Jake went and got the boat. He went back and got a new boat and came all the way back to me.
When you die, a little like mermaid
chest.
pops up in the water, and you can just go over and hit X, and it'll
if you're
warp you to where your boat is.
Yeah.
But one of you can stay with your stuff. You can't transport with your stuff, but one of you can stay with it, and the other person can sail back to you, and you pick up the chest.
Yeah. So it's cool. There's some really cool things in it. I think he talks about the unlocks and stuff like that for what you have, and right now in the beta, and I get it. This is our only impression right now. The only non-aesthetic unlock is a blunderbuss, which is basically just an overpowered shotgun.
Yep.
From about 4 inches away, you approximately have to be, I think. So that's cool and awesome, but that's it, right? We don't have anything for ships yet. We don't have any other kind of guns. Maybe like a better sniper rifle with a scope that's not cracked. There's nothing. Now, again, beta. They only had 1 vendor in there, the gold vendor. There's going to be 3 in the full one, so there's more stuff to do. But I think my biggest concern right now is content. Like, what's going to keep us coming back? Like, for us, we've played 2 nights in it. We had a lot of fun, but we already felt kind of bored with parts of it. And so it's like, this is the way that it's set up right now. I don't think this is something you could pour in 3 or 4 hours a night for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like what I think their goal is, right? Is to have you come back every night. There's not enough content. Even it's like, oh, well, there's not just going to be gold quests. There's going to be this one where you go and fulfill bounties by killing people. And then there's going to be this other one that we don't know a ton about. It's like, yeah, but all of those are basically just fetch quests, right? And sometimes you're fetching a chest, and sometimes you're fetching, dead bodies or whatever.
It's just a skull.
I get that they're different, but they're also not that different. And so it's like, what are they going to do to give us some variety and give us a reason to keep coming back? Because there's no story, right? There's no big story mode with some huge overarching story. And it's like, some people are like, oh, cool. You just make your own story. It's your own. It's a sandbox. The world's your oyster. Like,
it's kind of not, though.
It's kind of not, though.
Like, it's fun, and the islands are, different enough, because really the different part of them is they're different sizes.
Yeah.
And
different landmarks.
But even still, with different sizes, all the islands are relatively small compared to something like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I know is like not super fair to compare that to.
Two different
but
things,
in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you hop off and you have a whole like world you can go play on this island. On this one, like you hop on it and you can easily run to both sides of the island within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe not even that long. If you that's if you take the long way around.
Right.
Like,
yeah. They're small, and I think the biggest problem for me, and we didn't go to any of the fortresses, so maybe it's a little bit different on those.
Yeah.
I would be interested to go into those and interact with them. But the islands are the same vegetation. Like, it's the same. And like every island everywhere is like green grass and the same kind of trees and a couple caves and a waterfall. And those are the big islands. Small islands are just going to be like rocks and a tree or two. It's like, is that it? Like, there's no real varied environment. So are they going to start, as they go, are they going to introduce like, oh, here's some winter climates. Here's some, tropical climates. Here's some desert climates. What are we going to start seeing as it goes, because they're talking about adding more content as it goes. So it's like, okay, we're going to start bare bones, but then have more. I don't know. And so I thought, okay, well, that makes sense if this is like a $30 or $40 game. It's not. $60 game.
Yeah, full retail
Price. And you basically
understand, like, you gotta
have
make money.
to play it with somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't
Play
know.
by yourself, but even in the menu it recommends, like, this is for experienced players only. It's like, well, like, don't have anyone to play with, so how do I get experience without?
Exactly. So
But-
we could talk about it a lot, but I think it comes down to I'm more concerned than I was after playing the alpha.
Yeah.
In that I was thinking they were holding stuff back because it was an alpha. Like we're just testing to make sure the game functions.
It's more of like a test of game
We got in the
mechanics
beta,
and running the engine.
And it's like, this is the same problem we were having in the alpha. And so he's like, yeah, sure, some of the bugs were fixed. Some of them were definitely not fixed. We had one time where a ship got shot and it flew approximately 600 feet in
that
the air.
was amazing.
And then toppled down and just disappeared in the water. Like no big splash. Like that would have been at least kind of cool. It just went face down. Then just poof, and just gone.
saw a cannon shot and all of a sudden just.
So I get that it's not fully polished, but we are less than 2 months away from launch.
Yeah.
Like the map is I don't know. It's not like it's an infinite map. We're not getting infinite galaxies recreated. It's like there's probably 50 or 60 islands.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It worries you that, and it's not quite the same, but if it falls to kind of the No Man's Sky syndrome of like, it's really hyped. Everybody's like, wow, this is going to be this really fun, like, multiplayer sailing game that we're all going to play with each other, and it's just like infinite possibilities.
Right.
And at least in this one, we can see each other and actually play with each other.
Yeah.
But it's a small world, and you can only do so many things. It's just like fetch quests, and it's like, well,
so we'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully it's better than
on.
that.
If you have Games Pass, it will be there for free on launch.
Yes.
Or not free, but just the
be
same
part
price.
of Games Pass on
So
launch.
it will be a no risk try if you have that, which I definitely recommend you have. So we'll see.
That's a
We'll
deal
try it,
right there.
but I don't. If the game's like this, I don't really want to buy it personally.
Yeah.
So,
No.
anyways,
We'll
moving
let you
on.
know when it gets there.
That's a lot of Sea of Thieves talk.
It is.
That was lots.
Let's step on land.
That was a lot of. Yeah, we couldn't get
knew it
through
was
like
coming.
more than 5 minutes last night without like a pirate accent of some sort.
Yeah,
It was
which does
bad.
speak to kind of the.
It felt like we were
drawing you
pirates,
into the game.
and that was really cool.
That's the best part of the whole thing. But speaking of best parts, this is not that.
That was
Segue.
That was terrible. I just want you to
Well,
know that.
I was trying to like
It's all right.
that whole like last 2 minutes. I'm like, where do we drop in to tell them that the PlayStation Network is going down all the time?
Oh gosh, it's not been a good week for him.
Which I didn't even know because I have not been playing my PlayStation and especially PlayStation Online games for a little bit.
I haven't been
I've
doing as much.
Been going through my Xbox catalog right now.
Yeah.
But they were having big troubles this weekend with the launch of 2 games. So Dragon Ball Fighters. I want to say Dragon Ball Z Fighter.
I want to say Dragon Ball Fighter Z. So it's all
It's just like there should be a Z.
This is a very poorly chosen name for a
Yeah.
game that's actually very well received.
But yeah, Dragon Ball Fighters and Monster Hunter World both launched last Friday. And then this all weekend having problems.
Up
Both
and down
games
and up and down
which
and up
have
and down.
an online component.
Yeah. I mean, Monster World
Monster
on Monster Hunter World especially, like everything's online. Like
Yeah.
it's you. I think you can do some single player stuff, but the idea is go on hunts with your friends, kill monsters, get stuff, go on more hunts with more friends.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
So over the weekend, we got I think, was it a tweet? I didn't actually write it down. A statement from PlayStation says, quote, you may have some difficulty launching games, applications, or online features. Our engineers are working to resolve the issue as soon as possible, and we thank you for your patience, end quote. Which is the kind of thing you're going to get with every outage.
Right.
And it's becoming more normal. So according to an article over on Kotaku, there were 5,000 reports on the afternoon of January 26th of outages, around 2,000 the morning of January 28th, and about 1,000 reports this morning as of recording this, January 29th.
Yes.
All the updates I saw is that everything should be up and running as of now, which
How long
I'm
that
sure it
lasts,
will
who
be.
knows?
But I mean, we used to talk about this. There was when we were in college, they had the
The big hack.
big hack of
Right.
PSN. We all got, free PlayStation Plus for a while. But back then it was free to have PlayStation Network was free.
Yeah.
You could hop on and play. Like I had a free account.
No PS
You had-
Plus back
yeah.
then.
We all had free accounts. And so when we were talking to our Xbox friends about it, they're like, oh, like if they did something like Xbox Live where it was paid for, this wouldn't happen.
Right.
And Xbox Live does have its share of outages and
Mhm.
going down and whatnot, but not really many to the level that PlayStation does.
That's true.
And I think Xbox Live is just a more established network. But the problem is now is PSN is exclusively a paid situation.
Right.
So it's only PlayStation Plus. That's it. There's no free option.
Just like Xbox. now.
Yep, just like Xbox. But PlayStation regularly has outages more than Xbox. And not just like planned maintenance. Like,
Yeah.
that's fine. I understand. That has to happen 5 or 6 hours out of the day. Whatever. Find something else to do for a while.
Yeah.
But, like, what's going on? How come we can't fix this?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, right now it's fresh in our mind that PlayStation's been having issues, but you think back to what it's been like the last 6 months. It's like, I can think of maybe one or two
It's not been,
instances.
like, awful.
It's not been bad. It's always bad around Christmas time. And that's true for both networks.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. You know, and there's always going to be one or two spots. Xbox does have issues. We just don't hear about it as much. One, because they're not, I mean, they don't necessarily happen as often, which I get. Microsoft literally built computing. You need a network that works. I think that's probably where it's at. Like Sony's is better. You know, I think about when it was like, just like right after the hack, I felt like once a month it was down.
Yep.
And we'd be down for a day or two at a time. And it was like that every month for like a year or two. That was before you had to pay for online. They were just rolling out PlayStation Plus. It's definitely improved since then.
Mm-hmm.
It's Microsoft's had forever to build theirs. Their Xbox Live stuff started earlier. They had a better backbone because they know how to do that. Sony they're still learning, and it sounds kind of silly because it's been so long. And I do think that some of the outages are they just kind of stink. But I don't think I think part of the problem is that no one thought that Dragon Ball FighterZ, that's what I'm calling it. I don't care. And Monster Hunter World, no one thought it would be as critical a success as they are, because they're kind of niche games. Monster Hunter hasn't been on a next gen console or a current gen console for a while. It's been mostly handheld.
It was on
for
Vita
a while. They did Vita,
yeah.
they had PSP, they had some stuff on the 3DS, but they haven't had a real console in a while. And they thought, wow, it's Japan. Stopped halfway through saying Japanese, but it's a Japanese. It's an Eastern world game. It's not often in the Western world. Not really a big deal over here. And then you've got Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is Dragon Ball fighter games have kind of typically been awful since Budokai. Like they're just not good normally.
Yeah.
This one is like the animation is the anime. Like it's the same style, it's the same moves,
It
the
does
same
look
characters.
really good.
It looks like you're playing the show that you watched growing
It's
up.
in 1080-60.
And it's gorgeous and awesome, and it captures the spirit of it well. I don't think people expected it to be good. And then with Monster Hunter World, they didn't think it would apply to this many. Well, in its first weekend, there's been 5 million that have sold throughs, or not sold throughs, but just sold to stores.
Yeah.
5 million shipped to stores of Monster Hunter World in one weekend. That's insane. That's ridiculous. I think that is leading to it. These are two games did way better than anybody expected, and I don't think the network was ready to handle it. Is that an excuse? No, I don't think so. I think they need to be ready for that kind of stuff. But go back and look at the initial Destiny launch, right? Destiny kind of buckled a bit, but PSN never went down.
Yeah.
And there was millions and
Usually
millions.
game servers that
So-
should be like
Right. And so you know that there is the backbone there to handle it. I just don't think it was ready for what they saw with these two games.
I still just
No.
even if they both sold gangbusters what they were expecting, it's not Call of Duty. It's not the biggest games to happen.
I know.
I'm sure even this year to be
Right.
downloaded. I'm sure God of War outsells both of these combined.
Well, yeah.
But in the thing is, like, PlayStation knows how many PlayStations are out in the wild.
Right.
It's different when a game sells and it goes nuts. So like when Destiny sells, or like Monster Hunter World, just keep it current. When Monster Hunter World sells a ton, and they're like, "Whoa, we weren't expecting this many units sold. Our servers aren't ready for this.
right.
We're gonna work day and night to get it ready, and we're gonna keep you updated on what's happening." Not that I know if that's what's happening or if they had server issues at all.
Yes,
but-
they did.
Yeah, well, what game doesn't? Unfortunately, but they just keep, if they can keep you updated, like, all right, you expect game servers anymore to be like, well, we weren't ready for this load
Right.
to be thrust upon us right now. But
Thrust.
it's the PlayStation Network. Like, they know there's 76 million units out there in the world. They should have the infrastructure to handle 76 million units. They didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
That they went from 0 units to 70 million units and went, our network's not ready for that. I understand that's a lot of people on the network, but also that's like maybe 10 million people are using it right now to download those two
Right.
games.
Yeah, it's hard to say because we don't really know why it's happening. We're just assuming that it could be these
Yeah.
two things. The big thing is that they can't always be ready for all that traffic, right?
Yeah.
Because servers like this, and it's super general because I can't say specifics, obviously, but you don't always. because people probably rent their service. PlayStation probably buys their servers. But you say, okay, if I need X amount of processing power for the assumed amount of sales, and all of a sudden we need double that, okay, I can go spend the money. I can get that. It'll take a day or two. Now we've got it. Well, what happens in a month when you just put out a year contract on double the processing power, and now you don't need it. You need half that. And so now you're not talking hundreds of dollars. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in server rentals and server fees and all these kinds of things that you now are locked into in a really expensive contract because you had to have it. You had to have it right then. And the only way to guarantee you'd have it right then and right away and guarantee 99.9% uptime was by signing a ridiculous contract. Yeah. So I get it where it's not just easy to just flip switches and then when you're done with them, flip them off. Again, I don't know how the backbone works. I don't know how it all works. Microsoft their servers still aren't working for Monster Hunter. Their matchmaking didn't work for like 3 days. So it's not just PlayStation. PlayStation, we're seeing the overall networks having issues. Maybe there's a bigger issue going on somewhere. Maybe they're getting attacked again by some anonymous organization or something for supporting the color blue because it's racist. I don't know.
Who knows?
So I wish it was as easy. You could just we flipped a switch. We turn the servers into we hit the turbo button, and you guys all backed off. So
we have a whole building full of backup servers.
It's very much when you have to commit to stuff like that. It's like, okay, we could ride out the storm, right, and just have bad performance for a week, and then it comes back down to the numbers we're expecting. Or we could pay $1 million over budget and have the processing power we need, and then have it not being used at all. Yeah. So it's a balance. And again,
I wonder how much of that falls on on a developer. Like they come in like Monster Hunter, whose developer I've forgotten at this point. I apologize.
Capcom.
But Capcom. There you go. All the news you could ever need.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, all right, we want to make a game. It's going to be online. We're going to need matchmaking. So part of the fee we pay to Sony is for like servers, and we want this amount of server space on your network. And they'll be like, we want like this much for like the first 6 months, and then we can knock it down to this much because we're expecting this much drop off in our player retention. So
I think that's there's probably stuff that comes into that.
I've never really thought about it.
You have engineers that talk about stuff like that, and you have different teams that do it. Developers are just like, here are the resources you have on your console, go make it happen.
Yeah.
You have different teams for your online stuff. You have a different team for your live updates. So it's really hard to say specifically what the deal is. But again, if you do that, great. Well, what happens when you get a week in and you were way off on your numbers? It's like PlayStation's like, we set aside this for you. It's like, we don't have other stuff ready. Like, you have to wait. Or you have to pay us more money, or whatever. And it could be the data centers, right? Because you're not running this in the back of your van, right? So it's like, oh, the data centers, these are all the servers we have. If you want this block, we're gonna have to move these guys to this one, and it's gonna cost you however much, because we're gonna charge you whatever we want because you need it, right? And so it's not saying that that's what they're doing, but it's definitely a possibility. People be like, well, this is how much it's gonna cost you. That's it, done. And so it's hard to speculate, and I think it sucks that it always seems to be PlayStation Network at the root of it.
The reason we probably hear about PlayStation more, especially right now, is it's a difference of 76 million consoles and 40 million consoles. Yeah. So they're up over Xbox by about half.
And so you're going to have more people online. You're going to have more things like that. But it is what it is. It just stinks, and I wish it would stop. Stop it, guys. Stop having
Voice your concerns, but don't be a dick about it. Just tossing that out there.
Easier said than done.
All right. Out there.
What we got?
So next up, in things that aren't working, apologize if this is the whole show this week, but
that's good.
It's just kind of how the cookie crumbled this week. Paragon is being shut down.
Oh.
So one of the pillars of console MOBA-ing is now gone.
Pillar.
All right, name others besides Smite. Yeah, say.
No, I agree with you. What was the other?
Smite and Battleborn is a very weak one.
I say Battleborn's pretty rough. I was trying to think, what's the one that was on?
There was like a Lord of the Rings
Xbox
one
for a while, and then it came over. Maybe it wasn't Smite. It was something else.
You sure? That might have been Smite.
It's gonna bother me. Smite and Paragon came out at the same time. Well, yeah.
Do you have like the power to do that?
Well, I can't remember how to get the stupid. That's not the button.
All right, I'll go over the story while you're doing that.
Yeah.
So Epic Games has announced that it's pulling the plug on free-to-play MOBA Paragon, and the servers will go offline April 26th. Pay no attention to what's happening behind me. The news comes barely a week after the developers' candid post to the Paragon forums in which it cast doubt upon the MOBA's future. At the time, it admitted that it was struggling to achieve, quote, the magical combination of ingredients that make for a sustainable game, end quote, and revealed that the key Paragon staff had already been moved to work on Fortnite. So, Epic, if you have not been playing along at home. So, they released a statement later on, said, quote, it's with heavy hearts we've decided to close down Paragon. After careful consideration and many difficult internal debates, we feel there isn't a clear path for us to grow Paragon into a MOBA that retains enough players to be sustainable, end quote. So the developer is offering a full refund to every Paragon player for every purchase on any platform. Those on PS4 should create an Epic account and then link it to the game. Once that's done, the refund can be requested on Epic's website, and PC can hit the refund link immediately.
Paladins. That's the one I was thinking of. It kind of looked like Overwatch. It
tells
was like
you how
a
good it
Overwatch.
is.
Yeah. So I mean, MOBAs. I think the question becomes like, is there really a place for MOBAs on consoles?
They just feel like such a PC thing, and that's probably because of League of Legends. At the end of the day,
I mean, I think that's part of it. I think MOBAs always end up having complicated systems with skill trees and with different functions and upgrades and card system in Paragon when it launched.
Like
was
building
awful.
your deck.
It was so terrible.
Yeah,
It
I
was
remember
nasty
I listened to a
bad.
podcast. Andrew, your name, some of you might have heard of her. She's on What's Good Games, and you probably actually seen her face in GameStop on multiple occasions.
Yep.
But she's on a podcast that I listened to, and she was a big Paragon player. And so like it's one of those things like people that play MOBAs get really into it.
Yeah.
And there's just really no middle ground with that. It's like you're either like really into MOBAs or you're kind of like, yeah, check that out. It's kind of like every other MOBA ever.
Oh, yeah.
It's, you build your
but it's
character, but they just like, they build their decks and it's like, I know this deck, but then they change it. It's like, okay, I got to spend 30 hours getting used to this new deck. And it's like,
Right. The difficult thing you run into with MOBAs is the amount of time you got to spend in a match.
exactly.
You jump in 30 minutes minimum, probably an hour though. Like
Yeah.
normally a good match, competitive, at least an hour. And the idea of console gaming, so I want to pick up and I want to play. I don't have to work at it. I don't want to have to wait to load drivers or change graphical settings. Like I want to push my button and I want to play and I want to be done when I want to be done. And you can't do that in a MOBA. You just can't. You don't quit halfway through because that's stupid. You don't get any progression. You don't have any fun. That's miserable. So I think it's a mentality issue with like PC gamers. When they sit down, they're committing to sit down for a while.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They sit down in their computer chair, they pull up the game, and that's what they do. So no big deal.
Yeah.
With something like MOBA, it just doesn't, I don't think it translates well to a controller, and I could be
No.
wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me. I'd be glad to be proven wrong. But I just don't think it does. And I don't think it's something, I think it's just the console gamer in general. Obviously, there's going to be people that are different. Like, I really like playing Diablo 3 on the PlayStation. They did a really good job of optimizing that and bringing it to a controller.
Yeah.
Something I didn't think
It
they
felt
could
good
do.
to play.
But just MOBAs just are not, they're not my scene. And so I can't explain why people would want to play them because it just takes way too long. And just, if you suck, like if your team sucks, you're just stuck sucking for half an hour. Like the game's not going to get over any faster.
It's not like playing a match in Call of Duty or Battlefield where it's just like, well, I guess Battlefield is also a half an hour commitment sometimes, but like you get in and you're losing. It's like, well, once you fall behind to a certain point, you're just going to keep losing unless you all just like step it up real hard. But even then, it's easy to get around that if you know what you're
inevitable. Like it's you're just slowing the inevitable. I think I liked Paragon because I loved Unreal Tournament. I loved the Unreal Engine. And it looks like that. It's awesome. And I love that look.
That was the third person one, right? Like you walk around.
And it just
Smite was the third person.
It didn't go well. I think most of the time MOBAs are third person, except like League of Legends.
League of Legends is top down.
It's
just that's my like go to for.
The problem is that Paragon had such a troubled launch because they just wanted to hurry up and get the MOBA out there, right? Just because Smite was getting ready to come out, and we knew that League of Legends was dominating. It's like we want to get something out on consoles right now. Like let's go. And they just rushed it, and it was not a good system. And a year later, they had a big update to revamp everything, and it actually was better than average. But by that time, everybody was done. And every comment, every article you'd see about Paragon, all the comments were like, "Man, I stopped playing this like a year ago. Is it any good now?" It's like that's the problem. It's like you burned yourself with how you started. So I think it's partially MOBAs just don't work on a console on a consistent basis. There's not a big enough audience for it.
No.
And also, Paragon just didn't do it right. And I don't know how to tell you how to do a MOBA, right? But Paragon just had trouble development. And the really cool thing for me is they're refunding everybody all of their purchases.
That's awesome.
I don't understand how they can do that.
Well, they're Epic. They're also running Fortnite.
Well, that's true. And they also make money from the Unreal Engine.
Exactly.
That
so
uses it,
I don't think Epic's hurting for money.
It's really impressive to do because they don't have to do that.
No, not at all.
Because there's no reason. Honestly, I don't know why they would. To be fair, like they've already got that money. Maybe like recent purchases, maybe like in the last month or two, I could see that. But it's like, well, I bought a costume 2 years ago. You give me that back? Like, that's neat. That's awesome. Really good of them. So good for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look at the kind of gaming climate we're in right now, where it's like microtransactions, and people were complaining about Destiny because if you bought silver in Destiny 1, you don't get that money back. You don't get to transfer to Destiny 2.
Right.
And so all these games that have microtransactions with no way to get your money back if the game shuts down, and then Epic's like, you know what, let's keep good favor with our fans because we are shutting down a game that there is somewhat of a small dedicated niche audience for. And we don't want to burn those guys when we go to put out another game. So let's just fork up the $100,000 to $200,000, maybe, probably not even that much,
right?
Of like, just hand it back in. We call this one a lesson learned, and we soldier on with the hit we already have in our hands.
Yeah. So yeah, go figure. It's
But
just it's
you
sad.
just don't really hear about a MOBA doing super well. Like Smite was kind of a drop in the bucket. Yeah, flash in the pan.
Yep, and Battleborn was like a mix between Overwatch and
Yeah,
MOBA.
say Battleborn
wasn't
just
very good.
I don't know if it was marketed poorly as much as it was just overshadowed.
It came out at
by
the wrong
Overwatch.
time.
Yeah.
Because
'Cause-
everyone thought it was Overwatch, just in Battleborn.
Just
And it
Gearbox's
wasn't.
version of Overwatch.
And then everyone's like, well, maybe it's a MOBA. And it's like, well, it's not. It's different.
They call it a MOBA.
It's like a
but it
hero
isn't.
shooter,
Yeah.
right? It's a mix of them, and it just hit at a bad time because people wanted Overwatch in the Gearbox Battleborn style, and it wasn't there. And people wanted League of Legends in the Gearbox Battleborn, and it just didn't work. So,
Yep. It's just kind of every time you see a MOBA coming out, it's kind of like, well,
yeah.
I mean, sure, I'll try it because it looks cool, but I don't think so. But props to Epic for just kind of doing it the right way,
owning it,
and they're doing
they
good
did
with.
screw it up for a long time. So
Oh yeah,
they at least are making.
but Epic just has been making some good moves, even with Fortnite, with their cracking down on cheaters and stuff like that. Just like, man, way to go, you guys! Like, way to not be EA and
Right.
just be awesome right now.
It's good. Epic has turned the company around and done really good. They're really good at just working with their consumers. Their Fortnite developers are just killing it with their constant updates and just developer stuff going on all the time. They're always doing new stuff in the games that they honestly don't have to. They're basically printing their own money with it. So
Yep.
Who knows? It's very cool though.
It is cool. Speaking of cool, that's it for the show this week. Transitions have not been on this week.
That's all right. That's all right.
Speaking of cool, this show's finally over. You can turn it off.
If you guys are looking
Appreciate
for the drop or what's new this week, there wasn't really much this week.
Yeah, we didn't put any of it in.
We're gonna add some
So we'll
next
look-
week. We'll get back into it. We'll do more stuff next week. It just was kind of a weird week for everybody.
It's the beginning of the year in gaming, and so people are kind of getting their wheels turning after
Everything just starts a
holiday
little
break,
slow.
including us. So
Yep.
it's just one of those things. It's how it goes. But guys, make sure you follow us on Twitter at IR Games. Did mention at the top of the show. But we'll put out updates. We'll tweet out links for videos and interesting articles and funny jokes came up with either by James or Google, and it's a good time. Head over there.
Indeed.
Give us the follow. Also subscribe to the channel and share with your friends.
Please do.
You know you want to. That's why this
Yes.
works. We'll see you next week, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.